I am Doomsvince. This is day 195 of Spawn Year.
McFarlane and Hogwin are really stalling for issue 100, but I suppose about as much happens here as does in your average Spawn issue, with all the unnecessary splash pages and 3-page scenes that only tell a page worth of story. Even the Ghosty Kincaid arc, with all its thought-provoking character parallels between Spawn and Twitch, and all the work it did to address Spawn's maddening inability to move forward, could probably have been told in a couple fewer issues. But did we really need to devote an entire page here to Cyan can sense something is wrong? Cyan is honestly the most sympathetic character in Spawn since the beginning. She didn't ask to be the daughter of the widow of a Hellspawn, or to get psychokinetically linked with said Hellspawn via the gross shoelace he used to have in his face, or to get kidnapped by a demon clown, and despite being 3 or 4 or however old she is, it's impossible to keep track of the passage of time in this series, she's still somehow the most well-adjusted regular person here, except those rabid dog moments when she gets separated from her necro-binky, but she was hardly in control of her own faculties there. And I've never been clear on the point of her connection to Spawn, or whether it happened because she picked up the shoelace, or if that would have happened to anybody. What if the conspiracy theory guy from the news had found that shoelace? Would he be inextricably linked mentally with Spawn and turn into a wild animal whenever he lost it? Oh, and here's a question. Cyan about needed an exorcism the last time it looked like Spawn might be gone for good, dead a second time. Why didn't that happen when he got impaled by a sign and needed the green world to save him again? Anyway, Terry and Wanda are morons. They're both too quick to buy that she's been pregnant for 6 months without noticing, and that her belly went from flat to plump overnight just because their lady doctor, who Capullo draws like a blonde Harry Potter, says, "We made a mistake. It's been known to happen." Oh, well, that explains it then. Despite the disturbing dreams about fire shooting from her stomach and a gajillion weird unexplained phenomena surrounding her, Wanda goes from immaculate conception to doctor's error, and Terry's just downright neglectful. First, he refuses to pay for mental treatment for his little girl who's having traumatic nightmares about a clown who subjected her to coloring book torture, and now he sees a convenient, flimsy explanation for his wife's freak pregnancy and he jumps at it. He doesn't even think to check with Spawn despite their differences, just in case something supernatural is behind this. Suddenly, 6 months along should be ringing warning klaxons faster than her being pregnant in the first place. God, it's like neither of them has ever seen a horror film with a demonic impregnation. And you know, I said before I understood Terry's breakdown and that it had a lot more to do with Al than it did with his family, but I'm still having a hard time appreciating this extreme level of denial and paranoia on his part. He asks Wanda if she regrets being with him, and says he feels like he's competing with a ghost. Wanda says she wishes Al hadn't died, well, yeah, but that she's never once had second thoughts about marrying Terry. Given his seemingly out-of-nowhere insensitivities, I find that hard to believe. Remember, from Wanda's perspective, nothing unusual has happened to Terry since Jason Wynn's manhunt, and they got through that okay. From what little we know of her relationship with Al and now this, Wanda seems a little too forgiving of the men in her life, almost to the point of coming off as insecure and needy. I'm still enjoying Angela's dialogue. All that energy and self-assuredness and raw personality is always so refreshing in a Spawn comic. Despite my ultimate disappointment with the Angela mini, I still kind of wish this was Angela Year. Trying to force the name of whoever unleashed Urizen out of the 2 demons with the Romulan tattoos, Angela threatens to have Spawn shove one up the other's backside, a la Hancock. Usually I roll my eyes at such crude humor, but I did laugh at Angela's follow-up line. I can't even begin to imagine which part of that experience is more unpleasant. Angela senses that a battalion of angels is coming to stop Urizen, and she angel beams to the celestial plane and tells them not to, that this whole thing is a trap concocted to fool both sides into jump-starting Armageddon. How did she make that leap? Here's what we know. 2 demons were hired to unleash Urizen, which turns out to be so easy any serial killer with a flamethrower could have pulled it off. They have some charm placed on them so they can't say his name, and that's about it. What am I missing? Why is it so important that only Spawn fight this thing? And how can Angela be sure the plot has anything to do with a conspiracy to force a battle between the 2 sides? Didn't it take heaven and hell joining forces to subdue the creature before, like Cog said last issue? Who's to say this isn't a plot to bring heaven and hell closer together? This whole thing looks to me like an extremely contrived and not at all thought out scheme to take Spawn and Angela, each a refugee from the opposing side who has renounced his or her agencies because they don't like what those outfits stand for, and get them to triumphantly use their rebellious wills to save the world together. I guess this could work as a commentary on amoral bureaucracies and a story about independent thought and determination winning the day, but it's really not quite that at all, or the angels who pride integrity and honor over blind obedience would get to help out. There's also this whole notion that Cyan is apparently a precog and can tell the creepy Teddy Devil what's going to happen to Spawn at the end of this Urizen thing. I have no idea how she got that power or why the devil knows about it, and I was surprised that gift from the green world already paid off this issue. It's a firewall of trees? Urizen can't get through trees? I thought Urizen destroyed life. Whatever. This issue is sure making me say whatever a lot. Oh, and Urizen attacks a town called Malice? Really? Serves those idiots right for moving to a place called Malice? What the heck did they think was going to happen? Skittles falling from heaven? Signed, Captain Logan.
You're playing with fire. Do something. Now. The comics aren't the only thing stalling for time around here. I get the feeling you're making excuses. I don't think you're curious to see what happens in issue 100. I think you're a coward. I think you're afraid of Doomsvince. And I think it's time you grew a spine, or you're going to be an intellectual vegetable before you know it!